I love those guys. Mihail?
駅前のディックサクラで買い物しな。会計の時これを渡せ。
I love this theme. Let's see Kill's new number. This guy.
誰か知ってるやついないかな。
去年の試験じゃ世話になったな。あれから血の滲むような特訓を重ねたからな。
Good for you.
3人のコンビネーションも完璧。
1489人がここまでたどり着いたそうだが、実は二次試験官から300人くらいに絞ってくれと言われてて、昼飯まであと2時間。その間に5人ぶっ倒せ。倒したやつのプレートを取って5枚集めたら俺のところへ来い。
Hey, sorry, not Puhan, Zepile. That's gotta be Kill. He didn't see Zepile again?
おっちゃんも来てたんだ。残念だったね。
Damn.
今年受かるの俺だけだよ。
Oh, wow. He just took everyone out. Oh. Does that make him
やっと一人目か。
first and only?
もう1時間半も経ってるじゃねえか。
How about the girl, though?
みんな寝てるよ。やる？二次試験。
No need. Ah.
その必要はあるまいて。セアスの実力はもう証明されと。
Speedrun.
闇の住人キルは随分成長して戻ってきたようだの。
試験番号1219キルア君。
おい。
ハンター試験合格。
He's got swag.
おかえりキルは。試験どうだった？もちろん速攻合格。おお、結構いるな。
Oh.
おいゴン。
Whoa.
一体いつこいつに会ったんだ？え？クロロ？
誰？クロロって。
What?
会ってないよ。ゲームの中でクロロとなんか。じゃあお互い知らずにニアミスしたか？
何の話？
でもおかしいよ。あいつはクラピカに念を封じられたはずだよ。なるほど、そういうことか。
おい、シャル。笑ってねえですよ。
Go on then, Shaw.
ごめんごめん。おそらくこれは団長じゃない。
Of course not. Who is it, though?
団長はまだ助念を終えてないんだ。
助念でしょ？あるわよ。
マジ？
Yeah, I saw
当
it.
然よ。敵にかける念があるんだから外す念があっても不思議じゃないでしょう。
ってことはやっぱりクロロがクラピカの念を外してこの中に。なぜ気づかなかったんだろう。翼神の真東にあるんだよ。
Head east.
ここは
向かうなら東がいい。
Find new allies. The one who awaits.
そうか。団長は助念師を探してここに着いたのか。
団長は俺たちと同じ方法で入
Right.
党してレイザーに飛ばされ、
Right?
その時ここがグリードアイランドと知ったんだ。しかし念が使えない団長自身は普通の方法ではこの中に入れない。それで誰かを雇って入党させることにした。自分の名を使わせたのは俺たちへの隠れたメッセージ。
助念師はグリードアイランド内にいる。
Right?
他の連中も呼び寄せようぜ。
そうだな。総力で
The
助念師を
Nen
ち
Exorcist.
ょっと訂正があるね。
Oh my god.
てめえは。
ひそか。
It was him.
クロロの名前を使ったのは僕のアイデ
Of
アさ。
course.
褒めてくれよ。おかげでクロロの言いたいことうまく伝わっただろう。なるほど、そういうことか。ここで俺がぶっ殺して
Hold on, hold
おきたい
on.
とこだが
This is.
団長に任せるぜ。
I can't believe he's here.
何かあったらコンタクトで連絡してくれよ。僕もニュースがあったら知らせるから。
Good to see you, homie.
じゃあね。
団長、密かに依頼したのね。
The
仕方ない
middleman.
けどなんか複雑。
報酬は怠慢だろうな。助念後の。
でも
It makes a lot of
これで
sense.
時間の問題だ。団長の復活。
Looks like.
ご用ですか？
Yeah, he found out.
今月。
Her ability's not.
俺はどうしたらいい？
大丈夫です。すべて私に。
貴様に何がわかる。先のことなどどうなるかお前には全くわからんだろうが。ネオンだ。早くネオンを元に戻せ。くす、なぜこんなことに。
Karma as well, right?
どうしてかしら。
He's so happy to get back in.
どうやら本物のクロロじゃないみたいだぜ。
始めるのは本格的なゲーム攻略。
I can't believe Hisoka's here, man. Of course.
この大木にだけ住むという伝説のキングホワイトオオクワガタ。その捕獲方法はただ一つ。木をぶったたいて落とす。
Little side quest.
すっげえ虫の雨だわさ。いた。
It's like a hair cross.
キングホワイトオオクワガタ3枚ゲット。全力で殴ればもっと手に入った。
Ooh.
だって木の方が傷んじゃうかもしれないでしょ。
いたとしても幾重もの罠をかいくぐり、その少女を見つけることは君たち
Hold
では
on.
不可能。
見つけたぜ。
Yeah.
地下4階の隠し部屋にいた。
おのれ
A ランク金粉少女
ゲット。門番は F ランクだね。次はギャンブルの街ドリアスへ行くだわさ。
Glorious.
それ以外にもトランスフォームやフェイクなどで呪いをかけられているカードに触ればそれを元に戻す力もある。
すっげえ。これさえ使えばカードを取られ
Oh,
る心配しなくていいぜ。
記憶の兜、魔女の美薬。
Oh god, look at these cards.
ダイス。
I have to come back, folks.
合計6種。楽勝。楽勝？とんでもない。
Uh,
血の滲むあの修行があればこその今だわさ。
whoa.
またあんたか。
Big man.
大天使の息吹をこちらの一坪の密林とトレードしないか。
あんたたちはもう92種類集めてる。残っているのは他のプレイヤーが独占しているカードだけなんだろう。
正確には95
Ooh.
種類だがな。
There's a spell card in
その
place.
中には原因待ちのアイテムも相当あるんじゃないか。もしかしたら大天使の息吹があんたたちを
Right.
探し
So I
て
can't
る
let you have that
最
one.
かもしれない。それを渡すってことはすなわち俺たちの負けが決まるってことだ。
お前たちが大天使の息吹ともう一種類闇の翡翠を独占している
Ooh,
ことは
look at
分か
this.
って
The
る。
squad.
まだ勝負は決まらない。
そうかい。じゃあせいぜい頑張りな。俺たちは絶対に渡さないが。
3枚でどうだ。こちらが渡すのは一坪の密林、神隠しの祠、手乗りドラ
Oh my god, there's so many cool cards.
さらに大天使の息吹じゃなく闇の翡翠でいい。こっちは SS ランク1枚と S ランク2枚で。
Okay,
そ
okay.
っちは A ランク1枚。
罠じゃないのか。
It's gotta be a catch, they might be thinking.
テズゲラは慎重な男だ。
Tezagera.
喧嘩
Tezagera.
を売るような真似はしないだろう。かといって賞賛のない交渉をするやつじゃない。つまり大天使の息吹も入手できると思ってるわけだ。
Whoa!
もしかしたら奴らスペルカードを40種類すべて集めたんじゃ。
ありえるな。
A bit of a different meeting this time, right? Hisoka's around, man.
何事もなく終わったわね。
ちょっと拍子抜けだ
Hold
った
on,
な。
hold on.
ドキドキした。
スロットマシンが爆発した。おかしいと思ったんだよ。あの台5回連続で大当たりが出てただろ。
妙なサイコロ転がしてさ。
顔ぐっちゃぐちゃだぜ。
いや、いわばその一歩手前の作戦だ。もちろんこの方法を使えばそれ以降の交渉はまず不可能だろうが。
どんな方法だ。
税務庁のコテを使う。それとリスキーダイス。
Yeah, there's a lot I have to come back to.
その方法なら一気に8枚奴らから奪えるな。だが危険度もかなり高いぞ。万が一大凶が出たらおそらく死。かといって奴らには任せられない大役だ。
おいゲン、何する気だ。
これもいつも言ってるだろう。やばい橋を渡るときは3人一緒だ。オーケー、交渉成立だ。
やるぜ。あと1回だけ。やると言ったら俺はやるんだ。
Yeah, cut him off. Cut him off.
次の町へレッツゴー
本格的にゲーム攻
Yeah.
略に乗り出したゴンたち
I like the shift in this episode.
佳境へと入っていく
Okay, yeah. I mean, apparently, the story's about to reach its climax, according to our narrator, at least. Huh, interesting. Because I don't know, it doesn't feel like it. Hell, it kind of feels like I'm just now getting past maybe the midpoint, right? Maybe it's closer to the climax than the midpoint, but still, it doesn't feel like, you know, the story's about to, or Greed Island story, specifically, of course, in this case, is reaching its climax. Maybe not just yet. Or maybe, you know, maybe I'm taking it a little too literally. And the narrator doesn't mean that, okay, yeah, you know, within the next few episodes, it's going to reach its conclusion. I certainly hope not. You know, I'm getting into it. I'm really kind of getting into it, you know, over the past few episodes. And hell, you know, this is one of the first few episodes. It's really kind of diving into the game aspect of it, at least from you know, Gon and Killua and Biscuit's perspective. You know, Biscuit said, nah, you know, there's been enough training. It's time to kind of apply everything and play the game. Hell, you know, Gon and Killua found it really quite easy, right? But, you know, she noted that, okay, you know, it might feel easy, but it feels easy because you've put in the time, you've put in the effort, right? And you see, she's proud, right? She's always got that smile. You know, she's always kind of looking on, and just kind of taking it in, you know, just the progress they've made in the time that they've spent together, right? So yeah, you know, I love that aspect of it. Anytime, you know, a master figure or a sensei figure gets to take it in, right, gets to be proud of their students, right? And you know, it's that legitimate sense of accomplishment, right? Not just in themselves. You know, I'm not saying, you know, Biscuit's being proud of herself. You know, maybe there's a bit of that, you know, maybe she feels good about it, but I think mostly it's more so about the you know, the pride that these people can take in their students. But yeah, you know, one of the things I really enjoyed most in this episode is the game itself being at play, the game itself being in full flow, right, from all the different angles, right? Gon and Killua, Biscuit, they're, you know, in it proper at this point, really kind of chipping away at that total, right? All the cards that are required to complete the folder, the book, rather. I mean, there's still quite a bit that they need to acquire, right? Certainly in comparison to some of these other factions, you know, other factions such as the Bombers, right? Then you've got Tezagera and his faction. I'm sure there's other factions out there. And then, of course, the conflict between, you know, factions. That's one of the more intriguing plot elements as well, right? And I'm certainly hoping for other factions. Like I mentioned, I'm sure there's other ones out there. I'm hoping, you know, in the next few episodes, there's other factions that become a part of this. But yeah, you know, I've got to say that one of the more enjoyable elements of this episode is the tactics, the strategy, right? Combining cards. Yeah, that's really fun. That's a really cool aspect of it, right? Because there's all kinds of combinations to be made, really effective ones as well. And, you know, one of the things that really stood out to me, and again, you know, really enjoyable to me specifically, is the introduction of a lot of cards, right? And of course, you know, I did go back and I made a list of some of these cards, but, you know, some of them are clearly being introduced because they are about to play a part, perhaps in the immediate future, and then beyond, perhaps in the conclusion of this arc as well, right? The Breath of the Archangel card specifically feels like something that is kind of like an endgame type card, right? Again, given its, given its rarity, and then the effects of that card specifically being brought, to our attention in this episode. Yes. See, that actually allows me to speculate even further about, you know, motives. Specifically the Tycoon's motives as well, because now, you know, it kind of helps me build on my speculation, right? You know, I was kind of leaning towards, you know, the immortality element of it, possibly. But now, you know, seeing the effects of that card, the Breath of the Archangel, yeah, now, you know, I think you can kind of almost even solidify the thought process, or at least the theory, right? I can really solidify that, I believe. And of course, I'll get to that and I'll kind of go through some of these really cool cards that I get a quick snap of, right? Now, the thing is, most of these are being presented in a manner that you're not able to pick up on everything about these cards in the normal runtime, right? Yes, you could pause. And I'm sure people that are doing reaction content for this do pause, right? But that's just not how I record. That's more so possible if you do a screen recording, right? Because then you don't go out of sync. I know that's the most prevalent, approach to reaction content, or at least that portion of that content, right? The first time reaction, but I don't do that. I've never done that because I feel like, doing it in post gives me the most control as far as the setup, as far as the look. But the thing is, it's not being presented in a manner that, you're supposed to understand and take it in almost immediately, right? The way they kind of flash on screen, it's not possible. It's not possible to actually read all of the descriptions and kind of, digest the, potential impact these cards can have in a combination, right? So for that reason, I think it's really cool to kind of go back to them after the episode and, really take it in. There's some really cool ones. And, it really kind of has me thinking about the 3 cards that I would take. And yeah, I'll pose the question to you guys as well. Though, of course, I think you guys, I'm sure you guys know about certain cards that I don't know about yet. So, maybe, I'll keep coming back to this, segment, episode by episode. I'm sure I'll get, a few more cards, kind of popping up in the next few episodes. I mean, there's one that's been firmly established as kind of like the crown jewel almost, right? The Breath of the Archangel, right? I think there's a really, really good chance that is perhaps the crown jewel that the tycoon himself is also after. I mean, the thing is, this is quite a dense episode, right? It covers a lot of ground. It's quite the snappy pacing. Hell, speaking of snappy pacing, you perhaps have the record time for the Hunter exam. Someone actually getting, the official Hunter license, right? Killua is now a professional hunter because, again, before even coming into this, he had all of the Nen knowledge. So yeah, this time he automatically becomes a professional hunter because there's no need for that secret exam anymore, right? And yeah, it's quite the speed run. I mean, it's a little bit surprising, but also ultimately maybe not, that surprising either. And the thing is, I even kind of discuss this. I think it'd be sufficient to just get like a montage and that's it, right? A compilation of him going through the different phases of the exam. But no. He wrapped it up in just the one. He's clearly on a different level, though. It's a little bit surprising that you didn't have even a single Nen user be a part of this exam, right? Given that they made it clear that, okay, this time there's maybe a record number, or maybe not the record number, but certainly significantly more than the last exam that Gon and Killua took part in. So yeah, surprising that he happened to be the only one that knew Nen, or maybe knew Nen at that level, right? He's not a beginner anymore. He's past the beginner point. And, in that sense, it also kind of gives you a snapshot of the progression that Killua has made. And you can kind of infer that, Gon would have been similar as well if, Gon and Killua both kind of tag teamed, this phase of the exam. But, the thing that kind of surprised me is his approach to coming across Zepile. I mean, yes, he's really quite happy initially to see Zepile, right? His face kind of lights up. But he took him out. He didn't even give him a chance. So I don't know. Maybe I didn't like that aspect of it because, Zepile, he played a part in helping out Gon and Killua, right? So I don't know. Maybe I didn't like that aspect of it. Killua became really competitive. But, as far as familiar faces go, of course, as expected, Tonpa, the rookie crusher or the rookie hunter showed up. He's got his drinks, his diarrhea drinks or upset stomach drinks. Ponzo, I believe, she showed up. You also had the 3 brothers. So yeah, none of them got a chance to go past the first phase. Now, that being said, they didn't confirm or say, at least on screen, that, okay, that's it for this year of the exam, right? Because that's a bit of a bummer for them, you know. And I do feel for people like, again, Zepile and Ponzo, because then, you know, they've got to come back the next year. But again, you know, they didn't say anything about, okay, that's it for the exam. So it's possible maybe once they all recover, they'll continue on to the next phase. Maybe. But the thing is, the whole point of that was to kind of trim the fat, right? Trim the numbers, because again, there's been like this record turnout this year for the exam. So they'll have to do that part of it again, right? Minus Killua. But yeah, you know, again, cameo by the chairman, and he got a chuckle out of Killua's approach. And yeah, he felt that, nah, there's no need to go to the second phase. He's proven himself, right? That he's shown that, okay, yeah, you know, in the off season, I suppose he's learned quite a bit. He's progressed quite a bit, right? So yeah, it was sufficient. And he's now a professional hunter, and he got back to Gon in record time. And see, the thing that's so noticeable here is that throughout the episode, there's this really endearing and cute sense of urgency, isn't there? Because everything he does is this attempt to get back to Gon as quickly as possible, get back to Greed Island, but, you know, beyond that, specifically get back to Gon. You know, even in that scene of him making a call to Kurapika, right? You see, the moment he hangs up, he's so restless, right? He just wants to get back to Gon. You know, there's that smile on his face. So yeah, that, you know, that aspect of it, it's always just so endearing, right? Just how much Gon means to Killua, right? Just how much he feels almost, I don't know, incomplete by being away from Killua. Sorry, from Gon. And, you know, I've said it a few times at this point. That is Killua's soulmate at this point. Hell, there's even a bit of nuance for, you know, the bomber and, you know, his comrades, his companions, right? The other two, Bara and the other guy. Sorry, I can't remember the name. But yeah, you know, there's something interesting there as far as, you know, friendship or companionship goes. You know, it's kind of like a mini Phantom Troop almost, you know, the relationship that they do have, because you see that the bomber, he cares for them. You know, he's not completely singular in his mission or his approach. He does have people he trusts, and he truly cares for them from the looks of it. Hell, you know, you see that he actually took a risk that he didn't have to by rolling the dice. It's kind of like a display of trust on his end, isn't it? You see the other two, members of that faction, the other two bombers, you know, they freak out the moment he rolls it, because they know the possible outcome, right? You know, our boy Killua gets into it as well. Hell, you know, it looks like he kind of developed a gambling problem. You know, it's more of a comedic take, but, you know, there's maybe a message in there to be taken. And you see that swiftly Biscuit gives him a chop and gets him out of there. You know, no more for Killua. You know, a good thing to cut him off, because he got really into it, and it can be just that easy. It can be. So look at that, you know, perhaps there's even a bit of a message about the dangers of gambling addiction, right? Or developing a gambling addiction. But yeah, you know, as far as the setup goes, you know, these two factions that are kind of setting up a big, you know, trade, a big deal. Yeah, of course, it's not going to be as simple as that. You know, I'm certainly expecting the Bomber Squad to try to pull something off here. Of course. That's almost kind of like a given, right? But, you know, I'm also kind of hoping and expecting maybe Tezugira to flex a bit, you know, come ready for this, or to counter any, you know, potential trick that, you know, the Bomber and his boys might have up their sleeve. And again, you know, I believe that some of the cards that are being set up here are going to be playing a part, right? The combinations and all of that. So yeah, you know, I'm hoping to see Tezugira and how he thinks on his feet. And yeah, you know, he's been around the game quite a bit, Tezugira, that is. So I'm sure he's developed tactics and strategy, trial and error, of course. All of that comes into play. So yeah, you know, that trade-off, yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it. I am. But again, you know, going back to my point about it being quite a dense episode, now, you know, the Phantom Troop is in this arc proper, right? I mean, they're a part of it up until this point, but now, you know, now you've introduced Crollo in really quite the exciting manner, right? I mean, I was puzzled, folks. I was legitimately puzzled for a quick moment, right? Because I'll be honest, I did not expect Hisoka to be a part of this. I just kind of assumed, okay, you know, now maybe they'll get Hisoka to sit this one out. But, you know, by the time he makes it in, it makes complete sense. And it's certainly a team up or a move that makes a lot of sense from Chrollo's perspective. This is the middleman. This is someone he can talk to. They set this up in the conclusion to the York New City arc, right? The face-off. Hisoka felt that he finally had his chance. Chrollo stands across him, and now he can have his mighty duel, the mighty fight that he's been salivating over, right? But of course, no, it didn't happen. So anytime Hisoka shows up, it's an absolute treat, for me at least, and I'm sure it's the same for many of you. But again, I'm not going to just go ahead and assume that, it is a case for every single Hunter x Hunter fan. But yeah, as you saw, I really, really enjoy Hisoka. And now, it presents yet another possible dynamic because of course, if Hisoka's there, he is going to run into Gon. Hell, it looks like he did run into Gon and Gon didn't even know it, right? So it happened off screen. So at some point they might have crossed each other. And of course, Hisoka knew that, okay, he's around, he's sneaky like that, isn't he? If you go back to one of those episode titles in the first, few episodes, Hisoka is sneaky. Yeah. So yeah, he came across Gon, he came across Biscuit and Killua as well, most likely. So that's interesting, isn't it? Because now he knows, okay, Gon has another sensei, another master, right? Someone who has taken an interest in him. So, there's a lot of really cool things at play potentially if, they come across each other. I say if, once they come across each other, right? You could have a lot of interesting moments, Biscuit and Hisoka, Gon and Hisoka, of course, Gon, Killua, and Hisoka. A lot of fun moments possibly, right? Ahead of me. So that's one of the reasons I was thinking, really? Is this about to be the climax of the story? Because just now in this episode, you've got new elements coming into play. The introduction of Hisoka into Greed Island, right? And then of course, the team up, Hisoka and Chrollo, him being the middleman, and Hisoka coming across the Phantom Troop, and that, that element. That angle, you see that thinks if this really, interesting angle wasn't at play of him actually being hired, or him being the middleman in this case, for Chrollo, he would have lunged. He would have lunged at Hisoka, but of course, Hisoka knew he's not going to be doing that. That's why he approached the Phantom Troop, because he knows it's mutually beneficial for both sides, Hisoka and these Phantom Troop members to kind of get along. Right? Because again, at the end of the day, he is kind of attached to, their leader. So at least for now, it's much more beneficial for them to just kind of, go with the flow. Now, in terms of Hisoka coming across Gon and, being listed in the contact list, of course, listed as Chrollo, right? Because he figured that out. He can just use that name. And then, of course, that kind of came across quite efficiently for someone like Shalnark as well. Shalnark, man, this guy, I mean, the voice acting is just, it's just so top notch, right? There's something so endearing about Shalnark's voice. That laugh is infectious. I think so. I certainly think so. But yeah, he picked up on it almost immediately. Okay, this is clearly not our Chrollo, because again, he hasn't purged the Nen just yet, because now, he believes, or he knew, okay, the person who can purge the Nen is on this island, and that is the reason Chrollo must have taken the same route, right? Head east, because apparently Greed Island is east from York New City. So, it all kind of fits like a perfect little puzzle, doesn't it? And yeah, he just kind of speculated and surmised that, okay, he must have done the same thing as us, but he got tossed out, ejected by Razor, Border Patrol, and all of that, right? But then, he took another path and he got Hisoka to get in there, to go in on his behalf. Now, the question is, maybe it's not even that important, but, he did acquire the game, right? The console and the game, or maybe Hisoka actually helped him. Maybe it's not something I need like a definitive, confirmation on, but, they've certainly established that it's not something easy to acquire, right? I mean, Finks and Phaeton acquired it quite easily because, again, they happen to be around, around a lot of copies of it, right? Because of the auction, but, Chrollo and Hisoka didn't quite have that opportunity, right? So they had to acquire through other means or other channels. But yeah, again, before I forget, in terms of, Hisoka being in the contact list again as Chrollo, how exactly did that happen, right? Because it's clearly not a list of people that Gon has specifically, communicated with, right? Talked to. Hell, unless of course, somehow Hisoka is in disguise and he did speak to Gon. Is it all about being, within a certain radius of a player? But then I mean, if that's the case, you could have a massive list, a massive contact list. So I think it's got to be something a bit more specific than that, but maybe not as specific as actually speaking to a person, unless of course he's in disguise and he did speak to Gon, and that must have been off screen. But yeah, I'm sure once Hisoka does come across Gon, Killua, Biscuit, I'm sure that's going to come up in conversation, how exactly he ended up being on the contact list. But yeah, as far as restoring Chrollo to his former glory, the last episode is quite integral, isn't it? Because it focused quite a bit on our Nen Exorcist. That's a term that's being used for someone that has that type of ability, and it's clearly a rare ability. You're not going to find too many of those from the sounds of it. And the one that they need is here, right? So he's got to prepare himself, this specific Nen Exorcist, because the whole troop is going to be on the lookout for him now. And he is in disguise at this point. And he's trying to kind of remain kind of low key, isn't he? So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the troop approaches this. And the thing is, right now he is carrying his own burden, if you will, right? Because it kind of, the whole element of this beast, this Nen beast that's kind of attached itself to him, the constant companion, the parasite. It's all about, or it's all based on the bomber, right? How it all plays out for the bomber, his ability, him potentially dying. It's all kind of linked to that, isn't it? So, it kind of also goes back to that point of him kind of getting to Biscuit and Gon and, telling the whole story. Because then, of course, there's a few more people that can potentially play a part in taking out the bomber or, deactivating the bomber's ability, rather. So, like you said, every single chance counts. Now, the question I do have about this Nen Exorcist and his ability to purge foreign Nen from, within his own body, and then, of course, from other people's bodies as well. The main question I have, or, at least the one thing I'm really kind of thinking about at this point is, okay, so say they come across him and say he performs the ritual, the operation. The ritual sounds a bit more fitting, doesn't it? Because it essentially was a ritual. Now, the cost of it, is it something that Chrollo is going to have to take on himself, or is the cost always going to be attached to the Nen Exorcist, right? That's another question, right? Because if Chrollo is going to get it removed, or if a third party is about to get foreign Nen purged from their body, from their system, are they not going to pay a cost as well? It feels like yeah, there should be a cost that has to be paid, right? Or is it actually as simple as, okay, the Nen Exorcist is going to be paid for his services, perhaps quite handsomely, and then perhaps because of it, he's open to actually taking the cost upon himself. But yeah, ultimately now there is a clear path at some point for this Hisoka and Chrollo encounter, right? I'll get that at some point. Now, listen, the thing is, I know that the story isn't complete. The anime doesn't complete the story because the story itself is not complete in manga form. And I do know that his health issues have played a major part in this. The thing is, at the end of the day, the thing that matters most is Togashi's health, right? That's something that has to come first, always. But, I also know that much more recently, he was able to kind of, get back into it and deliver more manga chapters. So, that's good to know. That he's feeling better. So yeah, feel free to give me any more, insight, because, again, I can't really go out there and start Googling, Togashi and Hunter x Hunter. But, I've been told this much. So yeah, maybe I'll get the Chrollo and Hisoka fight the encounter, within the span of the anime. Maybe not, right? I have no idea, right? And I'm not looking for a confirmation or anything. I'm just kind of, talking out loud, just kind of thinking out loud. But yeah, it's there. The thing is, the setup for it is there. It's inevitable at this point. And, in true Chrollo fashion, you see that he has no hesitation to get in contact with Hisoka, or maybe, Hisoka got in contact, and kind of, posed this, team up, this setup. But, I'm not surprised one bit that Chrollo's open to it, right? They made it really quite clear. In the early stages of the York New City arc, that Chrollo might actually know exactly how Hisoka functions, the things he's looking for, the specific thing he's looking for, right? And it seemed like he was completely fine with it, right? Because again, I truly feel that Chrollo feels that everyone has a purpose, and he doesn't really, he doesn't really blame anyone for the roles they have to play. That's kind of the feeling I got really early on. And also the thing is, to me, it really feels like Chrollo is supremely confident that, any potential fight is most likely going to end in his favor. Like, it feels like he's quite confident in his ability to give Hisoka a potential fight down the line, right? So, listen, as excited as I am about this potential fight at some point, be it in the anime at some point or maybe in the manga, there's always a bit of concern, for Hisoka, right? Hisoka is incredible, but so is Chrollo. But let's kind of shift the focus back to Gon, Killua, Bisque, or Bisky, Bisque because Gon calls her Bisque. But initially I thought it's Bisky. I really enjoyed the whole, segment or the montage of them going around and securing some of these cards, taking part in these game narratives that have been set up, the side quests, be it the tree that ultimately Gon kind of wanted to protect, right? And that makes complete sense given his character, given that he is someone that is quite fond of nature, that grew up in nature, right? Going back to his upbringing on that island. So I thought that was really, really quite a endearing little moment to share, right? Gon telling Killua, no, I don't want to damage it, right? I don't need to damage it. I exerted just the right amount of force to get the card, the beetle that they needed. But yeah, I thought it was great fun to see them going around, just kind of taking in all the different places. There's the gambling town, the gambling city, that does a bit of a number on Killua, of course, right? And there's other places, going back to, the shopkeeper, him having to explain certain items, the necklace, the pendant, that being one of the standouts, right? That is something really quite significant as far as counters go, right? Having that equipped, yeah, that's a bit of a game changer. And see, the setup of the game is so clever, as Bisky noted, right? She said, the whole thing is set up to help people grow, right? To help people train. There is that sense of progression if you keep at it, as depicted through Gon and Killua. But, again, it's applicable to other people as well, right? Because you look at the tree challenge, right? The whole point is to hit it or punch it hard enough that you can shake the beetle loose, right? But the thing is, even in that, you can see the sense of progression, because you can see certain players going to it and punching it and maybe not being quite at that level, right? But then, of course, it kind of gives you a bit of a bar to achieve, doesn't it? You go back, you train some more, you come back, maybe, you still don't have the juice just yet as far as your punch goes, but then you work towards it, right? And, at some point, you'll be able to punch it hard enough to shake it loose, right? So in that sense, it kind of gives you that, measuring stick almost, right? Coming back to that tree. And I'm kind of only applying that to maybe someone that's not as special as Gon and Killua. Again, these are outliers, but there's other players that can really kind of, gauge their growth and progression, right? By coming to this tree, right? and noticing that, okay, over time that they are able to punch it hard enough to shake those bugs loose, and then of course that specific beetle loose. But yeah, going back to Krapika, great little cameo to have, of course, but it's also a bit of an update on Light Nostrada and Neon. Right now there's a confirmation that indeed Crollo stole the ability. It's gone. Right now, that was the line of thinking I had already, but this is like a full-on confirmation, right? The ability's gone, and you see the effect, the aftermath of it, right? Light Nostrada is stressed. I mean, he's a bit of a mess, an absolute mess, really. Even the place they're at, and of course he's stressed because he knows, his golden opportunity, right? It's gone. It's gone. He's all about trying to restore it somehow, Neon's ability. And the thing is, that's just not going to happen, is it? Right? But that does pose a question. If Crollo wanted, could he release the ability back to the original user? Right? Could he release it back to Neon if he wanted? Right? Again, in speculation. Could he release any of his abilities back to the original users of those abilities? Is that even a possibility? Is that something he can even do? I don't know. But yeah, the thing is, this is a major opening, right? This is a critical, integral opening for Krapika. And you see, he's really calm and composed because he knows this is an opportunity for him to really make a mark, really kind of take control and establish himself as someone integral to the Nostrada operation, right? And yeah, they set it up really quite effectively that, this is a part of his grand plans, long-term planning in terms of targeting these people that go after, human parts as collectibles, as something to, kind of gawk over. Listen, I can't say I feel bad for Light Nostrada. I did say, a bit of it is karma as far as how he's kind of, used his daughter's abilities, exploited his daughter. And again, those abilities that she did have once upon a time. And also, before I forget, you see that Killua, took the initiative to go make the call, right? He thought of that. He's the one who thought of, getting in contact with Krapika. Now, of course, it turns out Krapika, he knew about all of this. He knew about the possibilities, of course, right? I guess he also thought of everything. And then, of course, there's that one shot of Killua just, being annoyed, because of, again, Krapika's nature. But yeah, of course, it's always nice to have a check-in, and I'm hoping I get a bit of a check-in at some point with Leorio as well. But yeah, let's kind of shift the focus now to the man that hired Gon and Killua in the first place, right? One of the many, of course. Two of the many that he hired. Let's kind of focus on the tycoon and his motives, right? Now, I kind of touched up on this a little bit earlier, but the breath of the Archangel, I think this right here is crucial in terms of maybe potentially understanding his motives, or his situation rather. Now, I've got the description in front of me. An angel that can cure any mortal injury or terminal disease with one breath, right? However, the angel can only appear once. So kind of like a genie in a bottle type situation, but you only get one go at it, right? So see, now I can really kind of dial in my, potential theory on the matter, as far as his motives go, right? Before, yeah, it was kind of like immortality. I speculated about immortality because that's quite a common trope in that type of setup. But now, I'm beginning to think our tycoon, who is an older man, of course, and, these people usually are a bit older because it does take time to get to that point, right? You rarely get to see a really young person in that situation. I mean, it's not impossible. You do see some cases of it, but usually it is someone that is at this point of their life, right? Much older, maybe on the last legs. And I say last legs because I think now I'm beginning to believe that, the tycoon himself might have a terminal disease, right? Maybe not a mortal injury, because then you would have seen it. You would have seen it on display. To me, it leans a bit more towards maybe him having a terminal disease, right? And this is the only path he could have taken. This is the only possibility he has of curing that, right? And for that reason, he spares no expense. He acquires every single copy. He hires these people, a lot of them really quite impressive. And then, of course, there's that confirmation that indeed, if you clear the game, the prize is that you get to pick 3 cards and you get to carry those out into the real world. Or at least in this case, out of the game, because again, the game itself, Greed Island, is a part of the real world, isn't it? But see, the thing is, there could be more to it. There could be 2 other cards that he is targeting that he maybe requires. Right, I'm kind of focusing on the potential of the Breath of the Archangel, and the whole terminal disease aspect of it. But yeah, to end it off, let's kind of focus on some of these cards that are coming into play now. And sure, some of them might be maybe not that important in the grand scheme of things, but some of them are clearly being set up because they are going to play a part, and you see a few of them can actually be combined. A few of these can actually be counters to each other, right? You look at the Paladin's necklace specifically that Gon is rocking at this point, and it's really quite a beautiful necklace, isn't it? And it's a good look. It's a good look for Gon as well to have that around his neck. Now essentially, the effects of that card are going to counter cards like, I suppose, Fake, right? I mean, that's as simple as it gets, right? One of the cards is called Fake. So essentially, if a Fake is being used as, again, a strategic component, as a tactic, Gon should be able to almost immediately dispel the spell, right? Or the curses placed on the card. I believe that was the second part of the description. Let me kind of check it out. I think I have it here. All spells targeting players will be reflected and can also dispel curses placed on any card targeted by a player. So yeah, a Fake is not going to be effective against someone that does have the Paladin's necklace in effect, right, on them. You've also got cards or interesting cards such as Transform. There's the Risky Dice, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. That's really quite the highlight of this episode, isn't it? There's also some really cool stuff like the Memory Helmet. I feel like that's a type of card you can combine with other stuff, right? And then it could be even more effective. And then, of course, a few other cards came up as well that I could see playing a part in the upcoming episodes. But yeah, I think that should do it for this one, folks. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in early access or, full opacity or timer-based full length, consider checking out the Patreon page and, potentially supporting the channel. If you're interested, the links are in the description and the pinned comment, also links to social media, if that's your thing. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for the next one. Until then, take it easy.